and welcome back to another episode of Appalachian Intelligence. We are extremely thankful that you guys can join us again for another edition of AI. With you tonight, your hosts, Justin, Ryan, and Lance. Ryan, Lance, how you fellas doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. I'm good. Lance, how you feeling?
So good. I'm feeling so good. Excited to be back tonight. Good to see Ryan's face again.
Yeah, it is.
It's good to see your boys' face.
I love that face. I miss that face. I really do. I miss seeing that face across the planer every day. Well, I'm doing really well. We just had a big, gigantic crawfish and shrimp and crab leg boil down.
Some of us call that a low country boil.
Well, yeah, but I like to give the details, of exactly what was there. Because in the low country bowl, sometimes you leave out certain things, you pick and choose. We ran
Not if you do it right.
We ran
the same thing, right? Not if you're doing it the right way, you don't leave anything out.
But no, it was a good time. I ate a lot of good food. Excited to jump into this whole thing tonight. But before we do, we're going to start out as we always do. We're going to read a couple 5-star reviews from our Hill Folk listeners. The first one comes from bias ... It's 5 stars. This is a fun twist on discussing the unexplained. Love listening to these dudes. It's what I'd expect to hear while sitting around a fire, drinking beer at hunting camp. Being from the ANF, I've heard rumors and stories. These guys do a good job bringing those conversations to the front. We'll continue to listen and anticipate more. So, bias ... We appreciate that review. We really do. And that's the way we want to make this thing, man. We want to make these conversations and your listening experience be like you're sitting around a campfire with some buddies just hanging out, because that's really what we're doing. We've said on here all kinds of times, we just need to put one of these fire emojis right in the middle of our screens here, because it's what it feels like. So we really appreciate that review a whole lot. This next one comes from Trondlator or Trondlator. I don't know. Trondlator.
Like translator, but Trondlator, right?
We'll go with Trondlator on that one. This is 5 stars. Love the show and the Hill Folk pronoun jokes.
Yes.
So, Trondlator, even though that's extremely controversial, and we somehow unintentionally created a little bit of a review war, we appreciate that 5 stars, and we appreciate you having our backs when we're just trying to have a good time and crack a few jokes.
We're just a bunch of idiots. Like, it's not like we're trying to purposely do anything. We're just idiots. That's what we are.
We're not, unaffiliated with any political party here.
No, and we've always said from the get-go, you be you. You be you. As long as you're not hurting anybody or trying to diddle kids and you're 18 plus, I don't care what you do. You be you. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to joke about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm going to joke about it.
Just like these boys joke with me all the time about being a pale-skinned ginger kid, possible flannel man demon.
I'm pretty sure he's a time-traveling demon.
Almost 100% positive. Listen, I tell my kids this all the time at school. Everybody needs to be bullied a little bit. It's good for you.
Well, that's not.
It's good. It's good.
Not to go for you. Not to go off on a big rant tangent about the current state of society. Right off the rip.
Do that.
No, but I mean,
dude, that's
putting a blanket.
What's wrong? That's what's wrong with the world, man. Is we're so worried about, like, people have this idea in their minds now that if I feel a certain way, then you have to agree with everything that I say and everything that I do, especially if I fall in one of these classes, or else you hate me. You hate everything I stand for. You hate that. It's just not true, man. I may not agree with you. That
Here's the
doesn't mean that I
bad
don't love
part.
you.
Here's the bad part is we raised this generation.
It's true.
That's not true. I've not raised a generation yet. Nope. Don't put the evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
You're raising in this generation.
But I have not created one of these things yet.
Trust
Now,
me,
it may turn out to be that way.
my son is so conservative. It's funny. Like, even when he was a little kid, I got him reading this book, and it was by Rush Limbaugh for kids. It was a kid's book by Rush Limbaugh. And I'm like,
Rush Limbaugh wrote a kid's book?
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I don't know.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be like my desired reading for my, for my kids.
Let me make this. That's awesome. First of all, let me make this statement. There's been a lost art in society to be able to understand that sometimes you say things or do things that people laugh at. And being able to understand that it's okay that you can laugh at yourself too for doing those dumb things.
Yeah.
And when we can get to that point, like, oh man, that was stupid. Like, I shouldn't have done that. And you can laugh about it with everybody else.
Like, oh man, should have never chopped my wiener off. That was a mistake.
Oh no, that's the thing, man. Like, just because people think differently, or whatever, like it, I don't know. There's just this. There's this weird. Lance ain't gonna recover.
I don't know. It just came to me.
There's just this weird thing of like tolerance. I think the definition of tolerance has been shish kebabbed. Like,
a lot of things have,
including wieners.
Yeah. I don't think they run anything through it. They just, no pun intended, whack her off.
I'm gonna vomit.
Please don't throw up on camera.
Hot start to the night, boys. Hot start to the night.
We're gonna be getting some more emails.
Oh, this will get flagged on YouTube for sure.
Oh gosh, yeah, YouTube's taking this one down.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be our second strike on this one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I almost threw up. I was laughing so hard.
I mean, we're not actually making fun of that. We just said, we're just making a joke. But
exactly.
If you want to cut your wiener off, go ahead.
Exactly.
But we're gonna make a joke about it. It's okay.
Honestly, answer me. How does it affect us and how we live our daily lives?
None whatsoever.
Do what you want. Just don't force it on little kids.
Exactly.
That's my only argument. And like, everybody should be able to do whatever the hell they want. If it's a true free society, that's how that works.
Yep.
I mean, under laws and regulations.
Sure. Yeah.
But
agreed.
I mean,
agreed.
That's the way it 100%. Should be, but it's not, because we raised a bunch of dickheads. And self-entitled, freaking, what can my country do for me? Not what can I do for my country? Little dickheads. Yeah. That's what we did. That's what we raised.
Yeah,
I was quite disappointed this evening with my son when he'd gotten all this weed eating, and then he had to put fuel in the weed eater, and he cranked it like twice. And he's like, "Dad, I think I'm too weak to crank it. Can you crank it for me?" So I started the weed eater, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And I handed it back to him, because it's like literally you just go like that and it starts. It's the best weed eater ever. And I was so disappointed.
Too exhausted to pull the string.
Too exhausted to pull. And it was the trim. It was the trim. It's not a hillside like I used to do. I push mowed. Okay, my front yard was the size of a football field. My backyard was the size of 2 football fields, and I push mowed that shit. And there was a bank around all of it that I weed eated. It took me a week.
Listen, I used to weed eat from my grandpa. I got done weed eating, and I'll have to start again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is here. Crazy. That's why you're the man that you are today, boys.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's why our sons,
get into it.
That's why our sons are going to work in labs. All right. Yeah. So, as you all know, you've heard me talk about a couple times. Coming up in about 3 weeks, we have a really cool event in an area just a couple hours away from where we live, a little ways east of us, a little place called Wytheville, Virginia. All right. This event coming up on June the 10th is the Wytheville UFO Fest. And I'm going to keep saying Wytheville because that's how we pronounce it, but it's Wytheville, Wytheville, Wytheville. Or if you're really, really hickish and hollerish, you say whiffle.
Yeah.
Like a wiffle ball.
Yeah, shake your head when you do it, though.
Yeah, whiffle.
Whiffle.
I went hunting for 2 weeks up there in Whiffle. Couldn't get that whiffle pine to burn at all. But no, they're hosting a really cool event up there. It's the second year that they've done it. It's the Wytheville UFO Fest. The speaker lineup they have this year is really, really cool. So I figured, well, this thing's coming up in a couple weeks. You know, we're going to go attend it and check it out. Try to talk to some people there because you boys know we've talked to a couple people on this show that's came on and gave accounts, you know, about seeing UFOs around that area, the Wytheville, you know, Marion, that general I-81 area.
Speaking of,
and then we've received messages, you know, even more messages and emails of people reporting these kinds of things still today. So this festival, this UFO Fest, this convention, it came about because in 1987, there was a UFO flap in Wytheville, Virginia. It was a huge, huge UFO flap with a couple thousand reports coming out in just a few months' time.
And to stop you, when you say UFO flap, describe what that means.
Yeah, tell me describe what that means.
Now we know that, but everybody may not. Describe what that means.
Don't.
So a flap is you're talking. So, you know, when we talk about the definition of high strangeness, okay, when you've got everything coming together at once. You know, you have UFO reports, you have poltergeist reports, you're having cryptid sightings, you're having government agencies get involved, you're having all these different things. That's what is considered a flap, right? It's just a multitude of sightings and encounters and accounts all coming together in one general area at one time. You know, it's kind of like one of the most famous flaps that you hear about, John Keel wrote about in the Mothman Prophecies in Point Pleasant in the mid to late 60s, right? That's where all of that comes from. And what we're getting ready to get into.
So is FLAC an acronym or is it just a word they made up?
I think it's just a word that they made up. I don't know. I'll look it up right now.
I mean, I can look it up. I thought you may have this knowledge off the top of your head.
Let's look at the definition of a UFO flap.
Bunch of weird shit happening all at once with UFOs.
A full-length, anonymous paranormal event.
There you go.
Exactly what I said.
Exactly what I said, just in a lot shorter words.
Just more efficient and more professional.
More to the point. Look, fellas, I ain't doing anything to the point. You know that. So with this, you know, obviously I've heard about this. We've had reports about, you know, all this different stuff. I think Dick even mentioned, you know, this flap happening in 87. So I decided, well, this thing's coming up. I'm going to dig a little bit into it. And I didn't plan on doing an episode on this, or I really didn't. I just thought it would be cool to know a little bit about what happened, 36 years ago before we went to this convention. That way we kind of were prepared about what we're getting ready for what we're getting ready to hear. But when I started looking into this, there's some real John Keelian stuff that was going on. Okay. So that's what we're going to get into. Unsolved Mysteries actually ran an episode on this in 1992, I believe. The main guy involved, kind of the centerpiece, like if we're saying, okay, there's a John Keel for this situation, it's this guy by the name of Danny Gordon. Danny Gordon and his buddy, I think his name was Paul Dellinger. I think that was his name. We'll get to it in a minute. But they wrote a book. They come together and wrote a book called Don't Look Up. You can check it out still. I think it's on Amazon. It's on a couple rare book sites that I saw. But it's really, really interesting stuff. There's talking in the background again.
It's probably me. It's probably me.
It's fine.
Way to go, Lance. So, this guy, Danny Gordon, and what I'm going to go, I'm actually just going to read straight from, because I was reading through this today, and I'm sure it's just like a narrative of the Unsolved Mysteries episode that aired. So this is actually unsolved.com/gallery/Wytheville. All right. So this is directly from like Unsolved Mysteries website. Now, there's a bunch of different articles, like actual newspaper articles that are out there. There's a bunch of different blogs and write-ups. You can go see Danny Gordon's interview that he did at last year's UFO Fest on YouTube. You can check all this out. Now, here's my hope. I hope that we cover this thing today, and I'm trying to get up with Danny Gordon and reach out to him and hopefully have him on the show to be able to get his account firsthand and to be able to ask him the questions that I'm sure that we're going to have before this whole thing starts. Right. But getting into it, everything that I found from every article ties in directly with what I read here on unsolved.com. So we'll give them the credit for everything that's going on. I thought about just, going through and taking notes because it's quite a bit of information. But we'll just stop throughout, break it down, and buckle up, boys. Buckle up. And just as a preface, for those of you out there that haven't read the Mothman Prophecies by John Keel, read that. And then tell me how similar this whole thing is. All right. So jumping in. Wytheville, Virginia is a small town nestled in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Country music station WYVE calls itself the voice of Wytheville. On most days, life there is usually quiet and uneventful, like most of these small little Appalachian towns. But that was not the case on the morning of October 7th, 1987. Radio reporter Danny Gordon checked in, as usual, with the county sheriff and heard an unbelievable tale. According to Danny, 3 Wythe County Sheriff's deputies all claimed to have seen a UFO. Quote, "It was a filler piece that came on at the end of the news, which I usually relegate to something that's maybe unusual, like we had one police officer who killed 5 chickens at once with 2 shots. And that was a story that ran as kind of a ha-ha piece. And this was another ha-ha piece. And being a very skeptical newsman, it was definitely not in my lead part of my news. However, Danny's ha-ha piece sparked some unbelievable listener responses. Reports of UFO sightings poured into WYVE. With the switchboard jammed, Danny set up a special call-in program for the following week. Quote, Being a brass tacks journalist, I always believed there's a plausible, logical explanation. And I felt at that time that it was military of some nature and that we would find the reason in a short period of time. End quote. So now, let's stop for just a second. So Danny Gordon at this time, he's a radio host for WYVE in Wytheville, right? So we think about just kind of where we are right now. In 1987, radio was that was your media, radio and television. But now we think about it today, it's not a lot different than what we do, right? I mean, podcasting is the new radio.
This is essentially a radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Podcasting is the new radio. So you boys think about it. If there's a bunch of UFO sightings coming in our area, what's one of the first things we're going to do?
Have people come tell us what they saw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to start investigating, right? Because a little bit of what we do and what we are we're independent journalists, right? I mean, yeah, we work for ourselves. That's where the independent part comes in. But what we do it's journalism. You know, we get people's accounts, we investigate it to the best of our ability. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, we're always go on site and we're doing this and we're doing that, but we're asking questions, we're getting full stories, we see where connections are made. You know, it's part of what we do.
We ask the tough questions. That's what we do.
Yeah. Welcome to AI, where we ask the tough questions.
How long did you think about it before you cut your wiener off?
Oh, it's full circle. Full circle.
Or straight chop. I don't think they go full circle on it. I think it's just one whack.
Yeah. Again, no pun intended.
Bring out the guillotine. No, the small one.
No. You got cigar snips?
Okay, back into it. Danny thought the UFOs were most likely experimental aircraft being tested out of Virginia's Langley Air Force Base. But he was repeatedly told by the military that there was no testing going on. As more and more residents came forward with their stories of UFOs, the military finally came up with one explanation. They said the cause for the UFO sightings was not experimental aircraft, but rather planes refueling. But according to Danny Gordon, that explanation was impossible. Quote, I called the Pentagon and talked to the Air Force general there, who told me if they're refueling under 13,000 feet, then somebody's butt's in a sling. And to this day, we don't know if they were refueling at 5,000 feet. But at the same time, I've asked if it is military, then I'll be back off the story and leave it alone if you tell me, because I'm a patriot. And each time, this sounds exactly like somebody from Wytheville. Then I'll back off the story and leave it alone if you tell me, because I'm a patriot. And each time I'm told it's not us, we're not doing it, and we haven't been doing it. End quote. So,
Question real quick.
Go.
So, Langley to Wytheville, driving 81, what, 7 hours?
Yeah, 7-8 hours.
Every bit of it.
Every bit of it, right? Especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
So flight time, we're looking at what? Probably 2
hour and a half, 2 hours.
Hour and a half, 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere
probably.
there.
Yeah, probably somewhere around in there.
Why would you need to refuel that quick?
Yeah, that's my thing.
Also,
Langley
wouldn't tell him shit.
Sure.
Well, no.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I can't imagine what would be going through somebody's head just to call a military base. Hey, are you doing this?
Hey, I got a question.
Actually, give me your name and
I want to talk to the guy in charge.
Yeah.
Well, but I do appreciate the tenacity, though.
Sure, yeah.
Because if you go back and read John Keel's stuff, John Keel did the same stuff, man. Like he was like, okay, I got questions, so I'm going to go to the people that know, and I'm going to harass and pester until somebody officially talks to me. Like that's just, he was tenacious in what he did as a reporter should be. But Now, once those people do come forward and talk to you, obviously, they're not going to tell you anything. And according to this, all he said was these planes better not be refueling at this altitude, and it ain't us. Pretty cut and dry. It's pretty cut and dry. But I do appreciate the dude's tenacity. I really do. Moving on. On October the 21st, just 2 weeks after the first sighting, Danny and his friend Roger Hall drove to the area where most of the sightings had occurred. According to Danny, they brought along a 35 millimeter steel camera as well as a video camera. Quote, "We were headed home after 2 hours of fruitless searching, and I just happened to look to my left and saw a very unusual object coming across the horizon. I pulled off to the side of the road in a hurry, jumped out. He got out of the right side, and as he got out, I noticed the craft coming at me was very large, and it had a dome shape to the top of it and no wings, and had what appeared to be a strobe putting out multicolored lights on the right side of the craft. As I watched the sky, from the left came the red ball. As the big mothership went into a small skiff of clouds, the red ball docked with the craft. We looked at each other and realized no pictures. The camera was not in my hand. The camera was not in his hand. And we both knew we blew it." End quote. So that's a pretty crazy sighting. And it's one of those things, one of the first questions people always ask, well, why didn't you get pictures of it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff. I don't have pictures of any of it. I think just the way our brains are wired, and I mean, I can only make this explanation for myself, but I think when you're going into this kind of stuff, even though, okay, you've got a 35 millimeter camera, you've got a video camera, like you're preparing yourself for the possibility to document this stuff, I think you never really think, oh, yeah, I'm actually going to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's the thing you're looking for. So, it's not what you expect to find.
Yeah. Like, I've went on quite a few Bigfoot hunts. That's in air quotes. I've never, ever, ever expected to go out in the woods and see a Sasquatch. No. Never.
No, you would shit your pants.
Yeah, for real. The times in my life that I've ever experienced, actually visually anything paranormal were at times that I absolutely did not expect it. So, I mean, I think that can kind of explain a little bit of that away. The next night, Gordon and Hall went out again. This time they did take photographs. With the film still undeveloped, Danny called a press conference for the following day, October the 23rd, 1987. Now, they do capture some photographs that are attached to this site. You can go on a bunch of different places, type in Wytheville UFO FLAP or sightings 1987 or whatever, and you can see a lot of these pictures that they took. And just like you would think, they look like pictures of lights in the sky from 1987. I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can tell about them. Quote, "The night before the press conference, I received a phone call from somebody who refused to identify himself. And he said that I need to be aware that the CIA and the federal government were very much interested in the Wythe County UFOs. I started to wonder what I'd stepped into, and my wife was urging me to back off, to leave it alone, and I was receiving some anonymous phone calls saying, it's not for your place to be messing in defense matters." So this is where it starts getting a little good, end quote. This is where it starts getting a little juicy. So we've got a radio personality, right? I'm sure, just like we would be, if we're getting all these accounts, we're getting all these reports, we have all this influx of sightings coming in, we're probably going to be talking about it. That's what I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was probably doing the same thing, right?
I mean, one would think, yes.
So now some regular Joe Blow and a buddy goes out and starts, trying to find evidence of UFOs. Not a big deal. Who cares? Probably not going to raise a whole lot of attention. But a radio personality who's already been on the phone with the general at the Pentagon, or at least what he thought to be a general at the Pentagon, that's going to raise some flags. He's probably on a watch list.
Now that's another red flag for me, because generals don't normally answer phones. That's
why I want to talk.
But when you call Ryan and the secretary picks the phone up and you say, "Let me talk to the guy in charge," they just buzz you straight to him. That happens every time.
I know, as an airman, I would have felt safe doing that.
Happens every time.
Oh, absolutely.
Or
of course you can. Yeah, give me just a second.
Or as the janitor's walking by, you hand him the phone and cover up the mouthpiece and say you're the general, and tell him this.
Yeah.
Boys, that's what goes on. That's what it is. But that's why I want to talk to this guy. This is the kind of questions that I have for Danny Gordon. Like, okay, these are the steps that I've read about you taking. I want to hear about them. Like, I want to know how you did this, how you got through and contacted this person, because I'm sure a lot of pieces are left out in the mix of all that. Who knows how long he was trying to get through. He may have called 100 times a day. I mean, I don't know. I know in the Mothman prophecies, like John Keel would travel around and go to these places and like stand at the gate and like say, "Hey, let me in." I mean, so I don't know, but that's the kind of questions that I have for him. After the press conference, okay, we're getting back into it now. We might go with this for a minute. After the press conference, Danny discovered that his house had been broken into. Although nothing was stolen, Danny was convinced that someone was looking for his photographs. When developed, the pictures revealed only vague streaks of light in the sky. But 6 weeks later, Danny had another opportunity to photograph the UFOs. He was out shopping with his wife and daughter when they encountered some unexpected visitors. Quote, "We looked very quickly and saw what I thought was one large object, which later appeared to be 4 flying disc shapes. As soon as the objects were photographed, they disappeared from view. When the pictures came out, they showed 4 definite shapes of objects in the sky. But the most impressive point in the 4 photographs, the objects appear to change shape or life formations within one click of the camera. They go from a teardrop shape to a round ball shape, then they go to a flying saucer-like disc shape, and then they go to an egg shape as they go out of sight." End quote. That's not the first time I've heard that about people encountering some of these UFOs.
Yeah, I've heard that before also.
That's the kind of stuff that when I hear it makes me think, okay, this isn't extraterrestrials from outer space coming to visit. Like, this is the kind of stuff that makes me think this is something interdimensional. Because, yeah, I believe a lot of the things that people see are military, for sure, that we just don't know about. But something that's just changing shape on a whim in the sky, I mean, you're talking about a whole different state of matter that is doing this kind of stuff. I mean, it'd have to be.
Yeah. It's nuts.
It is nuts. It is nuts. Lance, what's on your mind? You're thinking really hard right now.
Yeah. The more, I don't know. I don't want to say that this whole narrative is fabricated. Because there was enough people around the area that definitely saw something, right? There's thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of people that,
like over 2,000.
Yeah, that definitely solves something. I'm wondering though, and again, this is just I read a little bit about this and know what it is and know the story fairly well. I'm wondering if the collection of data hasn't been somewhat, uh, what's the word?
Embellished.
Embellished, yes.
And it could
And that,
possibly
and
be.
again, that's just, I'm not calling this guy a liar by no means. I would never do that. I just think that just at just listening to some of this, I'm wondering, I don't know, like the description there of read the description again of the shape shifting. Just read it verbatim again of the things changing shape.
When the pictures came out, they showed 4 definite shapes of objects in the sky. But the most impressive point in the 4 photographs, the objects appeared to change shape or life formations within one click of the camera. They go from a teardrop shape to a round ball shape. Then they go to a flying saucer like disc shape. And then they go to an egg shape as they go out of sight.
Those are all very similar, all very similar things.
Yeah, they are. And it could be just a like the perspective of where he's at and where
Of a
these things
camera in
are moving.
1987, right? Yeah, I mean, I get it,
Yeah,
but like,
could totally be. And
to
who's
me,
to say
to me, like to say that we took 4 pictures. I saw 4 pictures, and each picture was a different circular shape. So it means that to me, that seems a little bit over sensationalized.
Yeah, could possibly be, man. Could possibly be. But regardless,
Now, I 100% think they saw some UFOs. I absolutely 100%. Right? I mean, I'm not denying that at all. But I'm wondering
people are
if
still
this.
seeing them today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not one bit am I denying that fact. I'm wondering if the collection of data has not been over sensationalized a little bit to make the story sound a little better. That's just initial thought. My mind may change. I'm not gonna fall on that sword right now. It's just where I'm at. You asked me where I was at, and that's where I'm at.
Oh no, you're cutting pretty deep.
All right. The people of Wytheville knew that something extraordinary was happening in their small town. Within a 3-month period, there had been more than 1,500 sightings. So 1,500. I think it was close to 2,000 by the time it was all
Like
said and done.
that's saying something. That's real. Like that's crazy, right? I mean, that's a lot of people seeing something.
Yeah. One of the first occurred near Interstate 81, a mile from downtown Wytheville. Eyewitnesses said the craft resembled a brightly lit spinning carousel. Immediately, other sightings were reported. One local resident, Patricia Aker, experienced a total of 10 UFO sightings. Quote, I'm not mistaken about what we saw. Absolutely not, because we'd never seen this before. The best way I can describe them is that they sort of look like a cross between a helicopter and an airplane with no noise. End quote. Then there was Mary Jane Williamson sighting, which happened directly above her house in the center of Wytheville. Quote, it had all the white lights in the front, just a big semicircle of white light, and it was just huge. I mean, it was just absolutely huge. You just had this feeling of something really, really big, just moving, just drifting over your head, and no sounds or anything. End quote. 3 months after the initial wave of sightings, Danny was packing for a broadcasters conference in Virginia Beach. It was there that he was to speak about his UFO coverage. Quote, I received a phone call at home from a retired military intelligence officer. And first, he told me to make sure that I taped the conversation so he could put the date and everyone. Okay, hold up. First, he told me to make sure that I taped the conversation so he could put the date and everyone to be aware. And I said, why do you want to tape this? And he said, I want your friends to know that if something happens to you, that I forewarned you. He told me that because of his investigations into the UFO field, that they had hit his son and caused his son to die with some kind of virus connected to leukemia. He said that he had information that the federal government was not very happy with about my UFO investigations. He said they want to quiet you. End quote. Well, that's weird. Less than 1 month after the disturbing phone call, Danny had 2 surprise visitors at his home. The 2 suited men said they were newspaper reporters and stayed for approximately 45 minutes. According to Danny, one of the men interviewed him while the other roamed around through the house snapping photographs. Quote, they told me when they left they would send me a copy of the article so I could peruse it. And when I didn't get one, I called the newspaper and they said, well, these 2 guys are not on our payroll. They don't work for us. So who they were, I don't know. But they were in my house, saw my pictures, saw my negatives, talked to my family, took pictures, and then left, but they were not with the newspaper. Some Men in Black stuff right there, boys.
Yeah.
Man, that's interesting.
Government.
Could be government.
Yeah.
But just again, with everything that I've heard about, these UFO flaps, I wonder how these guys looked. I wonder how they acted. I wonder how they talked. Because in a lot of these Men in Black reports, sometimes, yeah, they just seem like ordinary military officials or intelligence officers or, whatever. But a lot of times, dude, there's some weird details. Like just talking in a sing-songy kind of voice, like not really understanding social cues. People even seeing like wires running from in between pants legs and socks, really thick rubber soled shoes, asking for water because they have to take a pill at a certain time, like profuse sweating, picking up stuff like ballpoint pens and acting like it's the first time they've ever seen one, like just really crazy stuff. So I wonder, this is another thing that I would like to talk to Danny about. Like, I wonder how these guys acted.
Yeah. Well, the one dude was just walking around his house taking pictures. That's not normal.
Well, no, I don't think you just normally do that.
Oh, hey, nice to meet you guys. Let me just snap a few photos here. Oh, it's a beautiful mantle.
I'm with the real estate office. You want to sell your home.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we've heard 1,500 accounts, eyewitness accounts of UFO-like experiences. We've got Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we'll just call it that. Men in Black people showing up in the Wytheville area. We've got him calling government agencies and the military, getting kind of the workaround, essentially, right?
Yep.
Okay.
A retired military intelligence official calls him up, which tells me, if the dude is being genuine in all of this, which tells me he's making a whole lot of connections.
Sure.
Like there's obviously people in place that are like, no, dude, you need to shut up. But then there's also people in these other areas, whether retired or kind of like thinking on a different wavelength, that are calling him and trying to help him out a little bit, giving him some advice, giving him some info. So it sounds to me like the dude is making his rounds. He's talking to people. Yeah. His house is broken into. It's all like,
it's weird.
Dude, it's so reminiscent of the Mothman prophecies, the stuff that John Keel's talking about. It's so,
you think that's not coincidental?
Well, if this was like the only coincidental, how? Like,
as in, it's been 25 years since the Mothman prophecies was written. We have a UFO sighting that lots of people have seen. Can I not do the same thing here that happened in West Virginia?
Yeah. Well, I think you can look at it as being like, you could look at it from 2 different angles. Like, okay, we have all this stuff going on. Maybe Danny Gordon's just a John Keel fan. He's like, I'm just going to follow in these footsteps and I'm just going to piggyback off of what Keel wrote. You know, that's always a
possibility. Again,
that's always a possibility. But then again, this also ain't the only 2 accounts where these flaps have happened and the same kind of things going on.
Okay. All right. I mean, okay. I'm not trying to be skeptical here.
No,
I'm just trying to see things from all angles.
That's fine. Like, I think you have to look at this stuff.
I just did a quick Google search of the top movies from 1986 and 1987. Just what do you think some of the top movies were during that time?
E.T.
That was 82. That was 82. It was a little earlier, 82? But close.
No.
87, you're probably looking at not Fire in the Sky. That was 90s.
Here, I'll give you a rundown.
Predator?
I'll give you a rundown. You ready?
Okay. Ready.
RoboCop.
Yes.
Alien.
Yes.
Predator.
Yes.
Inner Space.
Dude, I want to go back to 87. This sounds awesome.
Spaceballs.
Yes.
These are all major movies that are out in 86 and 87. Here's another one. Star Trek: The Voyage Home.
Oh.
But I would counter that with the last few years, we've gotten all of these space movies too, right? You can sit here and just keep ticking them off. And now we have congressional hearings on UAPs. We have Pentagon officials.
Space Force.
We have a Space Force. We have Pentagon officials coming forward and saying, there's a possibility that there's a mothership in our atmosphere and all these UAPs are just drones that they're sending down just to check us out. So, I mean, like, how many times does the entertainment culture mirror actual society and culture and what's going on? Pretty regularly.
All the time.
Yeah.
So it's
usually a red flag for what's to come.
Yeah. It's predictive programming. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So who's to say that all these movies weren't coming out because the government knows?
I'm with you. Are there other flaps in the United States that happened during this time?
I don't know. I would have to go in and do a little more research and looking into that. Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that, young Jamie?
This one's prevalent to us because it's close, right? Yeah, I get,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you look at the Point Pleasant flap and you look at this flap, they're not far away.
You're not going to find as much information from then as you would, say, had this taken place, 2019. But
right. But
curious
I would kind of argue that. I would argue that a little bit too. What we have now, I would say, is more convoluted just because of the internet and social media, and you have so many people coming in that have absolutely no idea about anything that's going on, that are throwing their hat in the ring and giving an opinion and saying, oh, well, this is that. With the majority of these flaps, I know for sure about the Point Pleasant flap and this Wytheville flap. You had one or two guys that kind of took the mantle and said, okay, I'm digging into this. I'm finding out everything there is to know. I'm going to gather all the documentation there is. And they documented it. So maybe with that, you have, but things today, like, it's so hard today to figure out if something's even real or not. Like, somebody puts a super awesome UFO video on Twitter or Instagram, and the first thing that I'm thinking is, nah, that's probably fake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like we live in an age where, yeah, if something like this happened, you had all these different reports and people coming out, but it's going to be all over social media. It's going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of comments and views, and people saying, oh, no, it's fake because of this. And people saying, oh, no, it's real because of this. Eventually, until the people just get so frustrated that they're like, screw it. I'm not even talking about it.
Yeah,
this is dumb.
Who cares if it's real?
Y'all ever been on UFO Twitter? Holy crap. They eat their own over there, son.
Really?
Ugh.
I love reading UFO Twitter at about 11:30 at night. It ain't nothing. There's few far things that are more parasitic and cannibalistic than UFO Twitter at 11:30 on a Tuesday.
Dude, it's bad. It's
Dang,
bad.
man. I stay on
It's
Black
bad.
Twitter because it's freaking hilarious. I'm telling you, go on there and read some of the posts. Those are the funniest jokes on the internet.
What we need is a collab with Black Twitter and UFO Twitter. That's what we need.
Well, I'm telling you
We
right
need
now,
that
those
collab.
UFO nerds will be roasted thoroughly. These people are geniuses on that site.
Oh, I guarantee it. All right, so moving forward, I'll finish this thing out with this one, and then we'll just talk about everything, wrap it all up in a big, pretty bow. All right, so the newspaper guys, in air quotes, Men in Black, come check out his house, take all these pictures. He tries to get a copy of the newspaper, and they're like, "Hey, we don't know these dudes." So a few weeks later, Danny sat down to organize and catalog his UFO photographs. When I got to the canister, which had the UFO negatives, I quickly opened it up and found some UFO negatives, but the one negative with the shots from the shopping mall was missing. Now, I felt like maybe there was something in those photographs that I was not seeing, so I took the photographs to some other people to look at. We used magnifying glasses and we measured angles trying to find out why these photographs were so important, and we've yet to discover why anyone would want to steal that. Set of 4 in a series of photographs of the UFOs, end quote. 2 months later, the stress of the late night phone calls, the home break-in, the strange visitors, and now the missing negatives finally took its toll on Danny, and he had a heart attack. Doctors later determined that the attack was brought on by severe exhaustion. Danny was warned that continued involvement with UFO controversy could kill him. Quote, "If I had my choice, I'd not report the UFO story again. It's just been too hard on my life and created too many problems. Don't look up, because once you look up and you tell somebody what you saw, your life has changed forever." End quote. Danny Gordon says that today, Wytheville has moved on from its days as a UFO town and is now enjoying its booming arts and business communities. But if history is any indicator, sometime soon in another small town, someone else will look up and his or her life will never be the same. I love the way that whole thing ended. It's flipping foreshadowing, creepy as it possibly can be.
So,
Yeah.
Mothman in Point Pleasant was what, 60?
Late 60s. I'm thinking like 66 to 60.
So 25 years, right? 25 years previous to this.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
post Wytheville, 25 years ahead of that would be what? 2006.
Yep. Yeah, it was it was November of 66 to December of 67 was the
So
flap
20
in
years.
Point Pleasant. Yeah.
So
you're
20
talking
years
about
from that, it's 06, 07. There any other famous flaps that happened around the area during that time?
I don't know. Let's look it up. UFO flaps in USA in 2007. Year me and Lance graduated. Okay, so I want to go.
I'd like to
Holy
be on
crap!
the eastern part of the United States would be nice. You could narrow it down to that.
Appalachia would be even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. Ah, crap! That's a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo.
I'm just trying to find if there's anything.
Okay, hold up. Here's the crazy thing. What year did Roswell happen?
47,
47.
67, 87.
Yeah, dog.
Oh shit, that is right.
Yeah. When was the Phoenix Lights?
I don't really listen. I mean, when did Skinwalker get hot?
Since the natives started talking about it 1,000 years
Right,
ago.
but like when did it like
before America?
Well, the Phoenix Lights happened in March 13th of 97.
That doesn't fit our timeline.
No.
Throw it out. Outlier. Throw it out.
Throw it out. All right, so let's just look up like major UFO flaps.
If we can find something here, then we can say, all right, in 4 years.
Okay, and just because we don't find it right now, hill folk, we're giving you guys some homework.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, if anything, we don't need like
do your homework.
Yeah, not just a sighting or a couple sightings, but this gets a legitimate. I guess we're calling them legitimate flaps now that can be correlated to 20 years post.
Yeah, that's 47, 67.
And we're beginning to kind of build a timeline that either people are every 20 years we need the story told again, just in a different light, kind of like Star Wars and then Harry Potter and then.
Okay, so let's see. Hold up here. Let's check this out. No, I don't want to learn about Chicago. I want to learn about the sightings.
So I need to get mine out and start.
Yeah, young Jamie, you're supposed to be the researcher and the puller.
I don't know what that. You keep saying that. I don't know what that means.
Rogan, man.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Jamie, can you pull us up? Jamie,
I got you. Sorry,
Jamie,
you're right. I should have known.
Come on, dog.
That's on me.
You got to do better. Do better, Lance.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Okay, well, I don't know about the timeline as far as 2007.
And again, we're just trying to build a timeline of thin air, essentially. Like, you know,
well, we're waiting for 2027. We're going to see what's going to happen and where it's going to happen at. But I do think, I mean, I think that it's, I mean, the whole thing's strange, right? Regardless of, I mean, the whole timeline thing, it's just a cool little connection that we're looking at.
Come up
that's a holler flag.
In 2007, former Arizona Governor Fife Symington came forward and admitted that he had seen a massive delta-shaped. Oh, why did it do that? Oh, wait a minute.
All right. You have one job. You have me on the edge of my seat.
We're all the way to 2023. Based to 07. What the?
I was wanting to know where this was at. Is it in
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Probably. It's probably part of the whole.
Is Roswell on the 37th parallel?
There were also videos leaked of UFOs in 2007 that in 2017 they actually said were legit in the government.
Maybe
Is Roswell on?
Maybe 2007, instead of being like a flap, maybe it was more of a, okay, this is when government officials were going to start coming out, leading to kind of where we are today with congressional hearings.
That means we're 3.5 years away from another flap.
Yep.
Will it be your city or my city?
Well, if it's in your city, they're going to be going into the ocean, which is super cool. We're going to have to talk about it on here one day.
Yeah. We got the Navy and the Air Force here.
Yep.
I might get to see an all-out brawl, yo.
Like
I'm gonna wear my blue jean,
full Independence Day kind of deal.
I'm gonna wear my short
No.
blue jean shorts, my cowboy
Roswell
boots.
was not on the 37th. Roswell's not on the 37th parallel, but it is on another weird parallel, the 33rd.
Yeah.
That's another weird one. But no, back to just getting back to kind of like this case. It's weird, man. Like if Danny Gordon is being genuine in all this, it sounds to me like this was an investigation and data collection and cataloging and all this different stuff that he did for months and months and months, with his home being broken into, with mysterious phone calls, with threats kind of made, with Men in Black coming to his house, that eventually leads to him having a heart attack that the doctors deemed to be because of severe exhaustion, which tells me the dude was burning the midnight oil trying to figure all this stuff out. Which, again...
Or he had been light bulbed and they'd slipped him something to cause an increase in his...
Or they hit him with an invisible death ray that I've heard about that can give people a heart attack and take them out just like that. Boom.
Yeah.
Alex Jones tweeted today. And no, I don't follow Alex
Return the
Jones
Frogs gay. Return the Frogs gay.
I don't follow you, Alex Jones, on Twitter.
They got invisible death rays that you can hit people with heart attack rays, and it can drop them dead like a sack of taters right there.
Somehow it managed to pop up in my For You Twitter feed. I don't know how it got in there, but it was Alex Jones. He was like, Google US pad 662073BC149. I was like,
Google it.
All right, I'll buy it.
Yes.
It was.
What was it?
A patent from Google and a couple of others that were working on the ability to use monitors, screens, TVs, laptop screens to force a type of mind control.
Well, we know they're doing that.
But it was like an actual patent that they had developed. There were studies behind being able to influence via magnetic resonance through your monitor.
Bro, it's called television. You watch programming on a television.
But it wasn't the programming. It was like the magnetic field.
It was like the frequencies or whatever.
Yes.
It's sending
the frequencies.
From.
Yeah, it was the frequencies.
I believe it. And
I was like, huh, Alex.
5G airwaves straight on my brain, man.
Trying to brains the TVs. It's a psyop. Everything's a psyop.
So I found it. 2007. Remember in Arkansas, the lights that were seen over Arkansas, and the Air Force said, no, we were dropping flares.
Yeah, I do remember that.
2007.
That was a big deal.
And also,
that was January 7th, 2007.
That's right. I do remember that. I remember us looking that up. Yeah, that was a big deal.
Holy crap.
Yep. So there you go. 67, 47, 67, 87, 07. Coming up, 2027. It'd be really nice to find something from 1927.
Well, the earliest thing that I can find
probably not going to, right? Because it all starts with Roswell, right? I mean,
well, no, not exactly. Not exactly. The Battle of LA, man, was 1942.
Yeah. That's true.
That's a weird one.
Yeah.
The Battle of LA, holy crap, that's a whole show in itself. That's a weird one. But I don't know, man. That is weird. And look, I know we're trying to make these like every 20 years connections or whatever.
That's fun. We're just having fun.
But it is weird. I mean, I know that UFO sightings happen all the time.
What was the town in Arkansas that was over? Ryan, you have that close?
Let's see. Get right down here to it.
Belgian wave.
I remember that. I distinctly remember that, like talking about that. And I think in Brent Deal's sociology or
it
government
just
class.
says lights over Arkansas. It don't say the town.
Apparently, there was a great UFO wave of 1973. I know they don't fit with their timeline, but it brought what was called an autumn of aliens to Middle Tennessee. So that's pretty cool.
Autumn of aliens.
There were
falling like the leaves on a tree. Is that the illusion?
I don't know. Maybe. There was Kansas City UFO flaps. I don't know exactly what time frame there. I don't know, dude. There's a bunch of flaps. And when you start, all I know is this. Is that I've looked really heavily into 2 of these UFO flaps because they're really close to home, right? Point Pleasant and Wytheville. And it's eerily similar. The same kind of things. Now, Point Pleasant, the Mothman prophecies, that's a whole, dude, there was so much going on there that I don't think that can ever replicate itself. But the pieces are similar. I mean, it's kind of some of the same things going on. And just hearing some of these Men in Black stories that you hear, I mean, God, we take in all kinds of content, all kinds. And when you start hearing about some of these journalists and some of these, people that these experiencers, you start hearing some of the same kinds of things. Men in Black, sketchy phone calls, like electronics acting weird around you and just junk going on there. It goes into, other parts of the paranormal going on, like hauntings, poltergeist activity, cryptids. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's all weird. It's all eerily similar. It's just weird. And I'm excited for UFO Fest so I can hear more about it.
It's strange. It's definitely strange.
Well, regardless of if I'm able to lock down Danny Gordon on the podcast, I would like to. That's my goal. So, Danny, if by some chance you're hearing this right now, you have an open invitation to come on Appalachian Intelligence and
come sway Lance's opinion, Danny.
Yes.
Yes, Danny, please come seduce me with your.
But if I'm not able to do that, then I'm definitely getting up with this dude at UFO Fest, and we are going to have a conversation about all this because I need to know. I need to know. All right, boys. So we always do it. Final thoughts. What y'all think about the whole? Well, we won't go as broad as everything we've talked about. What do y'all think about the UFO flap in Wytheville in 1987? And go.
I mean, that shit's crazy. But I love that we put together a timeline. 20 years. We need to look at other things too, like sightings in different parts of the world and see if they have timelines you can date back and see if it's different than ours, and maybe it's just like different things popping. Man, I don't know. It is crazy. So we learned a lot about Lance tonight, I think. He's got his skeptical pants on tonight, friend. He is.
I don't know that I wasn't being skeptical. I don't think. Maybe a little bit. I just have. I've got questions.
I get what you're saying.
And
when you said that, I thought
all the crazy stuff we talk about.
Yeah,
and we talk about some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't
noticed.
The
UFO thing is the one thing I'm most on board with because I've seen them. Right, I've had a multitude of experiences with UFOs.
Yeah.
me and my wife both. Like I've come on, like, listen, I don't know, I can't explain it. So like this is like the one thing that I'm a little more quick to be like, okay, yeah, I'm in, because I've had these experiences myself.
Yeah,
like the,
that
Shadow
is true.
Man, Ghost, all this other stuff. Yeah, I'm here for it and I'll listen to it. But the UFO stuff is kind of scratches me a little more where I itch, right? Because I've had these experiences. So when I hear accounts like this, I'm just like, I want to be like, oh, this is so juicy and so good, but I can't always get on board with everything because when things become so eerily similar that you are almost directly correlating to something that happened before, i.e., the Mothman prophecies, it makes me begin to think, this has been done and written and said before. And that, to me, like, give me something new. Like, give me something that's like, I've never thought about that. I.e., a 20-year timeline. Like, I've never listened to 1,000 things. I've never heard of this little generic, this little timeline that we invented tonight. It's completely probably not relative at all, but like that's something new that I can at least be like, okay, right? But because maybe,
in
maybe
3.5 years we'll know.
Yeah, maybe there is something relative here, right?
That's when all the pre-programming that we're going through right now, that's going to be the full invasion.
Maybe we're doing the pre-programming and we just didn't know it.
Yeah.
You just blew my mind, Lance.
Hey,
holy crap. We've come up with a 20-year timeline. What do you hear about all these stories of people that say that they're abducted and recruited and they go live these full lives in like this army and do all this different stuff, this intergalactic junk going on, what do they call that?
I don't know. Jumping timelines? It's
20
and back.
20 and back.
20 and back. Oh, shit.
They call them 20 and backs. These people literally say they go and spend 20 years with these whatever entities, extraterrestrials, whatever they are, fighting in these wars, doing these jobs, living these full lives, and then they get dropped back or they come back to the same place that they left when they got taken.
Technically, faster, if you travel faster than the speed of light, you're going back in time.
Yep.
Holy shit balls.
So we came up with a 20-year timeline, and literally there's people that talk about 20 and backs.
But I mean, we have come up with a 20-year timeline. We've been pretty selective on the things we've used.
Well, yeah. We're trying to fit our own narrative.
Duh. But I mean, just think about the flaps.
This works.
We're like CNN and Fox News.
But this happened in 2005. Doesn't matter.
Throw it out. Throw it out.
Well, everything we mentioned was national news.
Yeah.
47.
Yeah.
67, 87, 07. It's all national news.
I don't know. We'll see what 2027 brings.
We'll still be here. Hopefully, the studio will be a lot nicer, but we'll still be here talking about
I sure do hope there's a big flap over Hayside.
No, there'll be people shooting at them. Yeah,
I know. It'd be
worse than when the pro wrestling comes to town.
Oh my god!
No, it won't either. No, it won't. That pro wrestling, these people come out of every nook and cranny of the hollers.
Oh man.
Man, that's awesome. All right, boys. We'll close this thing down. This has been a fun one. But I told y'all I had something totally different planned for tonight, and this one just kind of popped up on me out of nowhere. But I told you it was going to be a little more than just a few people saying, "Hey, I seen a big UFO."
That's juicy.
Awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's juicy.
Yeah.
Juicy.
What I really wanted to talk about.
2007 sweatpants that all the girls wore across the butt.
Juicy.
That's right. You remember that. That's right.
That was the flag.
Go ahead and bring it on. You remember?
Yeah, that was an epidemic in its own self. That was we were living through that pandemic. We survived that shit too.
Flooding back.
That was a pants-demic, not a pandemic.
Juicy. There ain't nothing juicy when it looks like you got beat in the back of the legs with a bag of nickels. It's a Denny's waitress for sure.
Hey, I love Denny's.
I love Denny's too.
All-star breakfast. Bring it on.
Not a
Can't
sponsor.
beat that.
Could
Yet.
be.
Yet. But no, what I wanted to talk about, and we'll just throw a little teaser out there because this may be our next one. I don't know. I'm going to start scheduling guests again pretty soon. So who knows when we'll get to it. But y'all, have y'all heard these loud booms? These just unexplainable loud booms?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
You heard any of them, Ryan?
Not to my recollection.
Okay. Well, we'll just leave it there.
Okay.
All right. So look forward to that, Hill folk. We hope you guys enjoyed this programming that you may be watching on your television. Thanks for joining us again for another week. You can go follow us on all of our social medias. Those will be listed in the show notes. Facebook, Twitter,
Discord, jump in.
Yes, do that. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Come hang out with us. Come have cool conversations, or just look at pictures of everybody's pets, or talk about how gardening or what gardening people are doing, or look at what people are cooking that night for dinner, or what they're drinking when they're done with a hard work day. Hey, it's just people living life over there. It's Hill folk,
people being people,
living life, coming together, encouraging each other. It's made a cool group over there. We love our Discord people. We love our Hill folk in general. You can support the show by clicking the show link in the show notes. You can go check our Patreon out over at patreon.com/Appalachian_intelligence. We got another powwow coming up pretty soon. So if you want to get involved in that, be sure to go over, check out our tiers, see how you can be a part of that, and come hang out with us one night a month and talk all kinds of weird stuff.
Yep.
And then we'll put it out
next weekend, huh?
Yeah, probably next weekend. That'll be the end of the month.
Get ready, Kim folk.
Get ready. Bring your weird. You can send us your stories or comments or whatever you want to send us at AppalachianIntelligence@gmail.com. But most importantly, the most important thing that you guys can do is to share the show. Share the show. That's what keeps the show growing. That's what gets us out there for all the listening pleasures of the well, we won't say that. For all those people that haven't heard us, I was going to say the unexpected, but if people start talking about it, then they know what they're expecting. But anyway, share the show.
By now.
Yeah. Share the show. Helps us out tremendously. Keep leaving those 5-star reviews. Just come hang out with us. Building a tribe. Come be a part of it.
Yeah. Just don't come at Lance with your UFO bullshit.
That's right.
He'll sniff it out. And also, if this does make it on YouTube, sorry to Lance's mom for all the cutting off wiener jokes.
And she'll probably actually laugh at those.
I've never dreamed 20 years ago that Lance's mom and dad would be sitting there one day watching us talk about all this crap on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that we finally started putting videos back on YouTube.
Hey guys, go check all those out. I finally got them posted. Actually, there's some on there twice because I didn't check what Justin posted.
So check them out twice.
Yeah, check them out twice.
Double the fun.
We did a job so nice you could watch it twice.
Pleasure, double the fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man, remember the Double Mint twins?
I do.
Hey, wait, we're still recording.
We're like the Double Mint triplets.
Triple mint.
Yeah.
Triple the pleasure, triple the fun. We're going to have to put some of these episodes on here again, right?
Yeah, we look just like them, except our faces are different and our bodies are bad. But
all right, Hill folk, we love y'all.
Lions mean it.
Love you, boys.
Love you,
And until
boys.
next time, we'll see y'all later.